going to be a book review for the book that I just finished reading, which is this book here. Ooh. It's called This Book is Full of Spiders by David Wong, and it's actually a sequel to John Dies at the End. I haven't read the first book, but my boyfriend and I went to see the film of John Dies at the End a couple of years ago when it was playing at our local film festival. And I live in the UK, and I'm not even sure that it had a proper UK release. I think it got a small release in America. It's quite a cult, small budget film, but we thought it was really, really funny. I really, really loved it. And I did search for it on, I tried to find it on DVD, but it was quite hard to find Region 2, although I think they are out now, the Region 2 DVDs. So for Christmas, my boyfriend got me the second book, which pretty much follows on from the film, although obviously they changed the film. When they made the film, they made some changes to the story of John Dies at the End. So some little bits don't quite add up, but it pretty much follows on. So basically, to catch you up, John and Dave, Dave is the main character. He's called David Wong, so maybe it's autobiographical, probably not. But John and Dave live in undisclosed. They never actually name the town that they live in, but basically it's like Weirdsville. It's like where all this crazy stuff happens, and it's all really weird. And there's like other dimensions and monsters and weird creatures and shadow people, and it's all murky and scary. Quite a lot like Buffy, only more swearing and a lot more people dying. Like, this book becomes a bloodbath about halfway through. I mean, everybody just dies. Just everybody. If you don't like blood and gore and people dying, then this isn't the book for you, because it does turn quite nasty. But yeah, that's their town. And what happens in the first book, which I know because I saw the film, is that John and Dave both take this drug called soy sauce, and it's a really weird drug, and most of the people that take it die. And they survive, and after they survive taking soy sauce, it means they're able to see these creatures from other dimensions, and they're able to see this weird stuff, and they're aware of all this weird stuff that's happening that other people just aren't aware of. So, I don't want to give too much away, but the titles kind of give a lot away anyway. So this book is full of spiders, and basically the book is full of spiders, and then there's these weird, they describe as spiders, although he does say that it's not really like a spider, but it's some kind of very kind of like a large spider creature that attacks people, and kind of it takes them over, and they're still walking around, but they're not really them anymore. And it's all just kind of what happens after an outbreak of all these spiders happens and hits the town of undisclosed. So I'll read the first page because, like I said, I don't want to give too much away, but the first page made me laugh twice, so I thought that it would be a pretty good book. I knew I'd enjoy it after I read the first page, and it made me laugh twice. So I'll just read out the first page. Well, there's a prologue, but I'll read the epi-prologue, because prologue's just like a note bit. This has swearing in it, FYI. So here's how fucked up this town is. My friend John and I were out celebrating his birthday last summer. At the end of the night we were good and drunk, and we headed outside of town to go climb up the water tower and piss off of it. This has been John's tradition for the last 20 years. If you do the math, you'll realise this goes back to when he turned 5, which really says more about John's parents than John. That was the first time that I laughed. This was a special year because they were in the process of tearing down that old water tower to build a new, more modern one, and it didn't look like the new one was going to have the kind of platform that you could piss off of, because this was no longer a world of men. I laughed a bit there too. Anyway, it's 2 in the morning, and we were taking turns pissing off the tower rather than going at the same time because we weren't raised by wolves. That's the second time I properly laughed. So it's my turn, and I'm right at that transcendent moment where the long stream of urine connects me and the ground below, when I see headlights off in the distance. A row of them out on the highway about a quarter mile of cornfield away from where I was pissing. That was enough to get my attention, because that is not a busy stretch of highways any hour, let alone in the wee hours of the morning on a weekday. As the headlights got closer, I saw they belonged to a row of black military transports. I squinted and said, "Are we being invaded? Because I'm too drunk to pull off Red Dawn." So that was the first page, and it made me laugh again when I was reading it just then. There was about 2 or 3 points where I thought it was really funny, and that's kind of the humour. Obviously there's a lot of swearing in it, and the characters are kind of, they're guys in their 20s, and Dave works, he's a manager of the like DVD rental place. John's kind of a more of a I don't know, chaotic character. I mean, he's not very chaotic, but you get the impression that he goes out, he drinks, he sleeps around, and he doesn't really have a steady job or anything. So there's a lot of those kind of little bits creeping in where they're kind of getting drunk and pissing up water towers and stuff like that. And like, I found that stuff funny, and I found the characters believable, and I really like the relationship between Dave and John, who have been friends for years. And then there's Dave's girlfriend, Amy, and when the 3 of them are together, or when there's 2 of them, I thought it really worked really well. The dialogue really worked very well, and there's some Skype conversations between Amy and Dave that really seemed believable. And I did like the characters. I think for me, the problem is that for most of the book, those 3 characters are actually split up. And they're in different places. They're actually a lot of times quite near each other, they just don't realise it. The plot, or the book, has a structure where it kind of jumps backwards and forwards a little bit in time, and it also looks at the different perspectives of the 3 main characters. So you're constantly kind of, something happens, and then it'll tell you, oh, what happened 8 hours ago, but to one of the other characters. And because it all kind of connects together, or the 3 characters, what's happening to them is all kind of connecting. And it kind of works, but for me there was something about it that didn't quite work. And I think the problem was that when they were split up, you lost that humour, and you lost that reality, and you lost them as characters. And there's just a lot of people being killed, like, and what I said before, that just a lot of people get killed, and if you don't like blood and gore, then this isn't the book for you, because everyone just starts killing each other, and there's spiders killing people, and then it's just, I mean, it just gets crazy. And I just thought that without that humour running through the whole book all the way from the beginning, it just got a bit heavy with like death and mayhem and chaos. They also added in some kind of political elements, as well as kind of religious elements, which I thought kind of worked. I mean, I didn't really have a problem with the politics, because they're kind of trying to figure out, like, well, where did the spiders come from, and who put them there, or where did they come from, and how, like, why things are happening the way that they're happening, why the plot, why things are happening in the plot, and why everything seems to get so out of control so quickly, and why certain people in power who are looking after the events, because basically there's like a mass outbreak in the town, so various government agencies and organisations move in to kind of control and contain things. Why those people are doing the things that they're doing, and they have a lot of power, and no one can find out the truth or get the correct information. So there's kind of political issues going on there, and then towards the end there's like religious parallels. And I didn't really have a problem with those, but again, without that humour running through it, and without something more real and something more ordinary and mundane, like a couple of guys in their 20s going out and getting drunk, or someone talking to their girlfriend who's away at college, or something a little bit more accessible, it got quite heavy and it got quite dense. Having said that, I did find it really enjoyable, I did find it really compelling. I did read it like quickly, and I didn't want to put it down, and I wanted to find out what happened at the end. I did find the ending quite satisfying. I wasn't disappointed with the ending. It kind of followed through. I did think it got a little bit confusing, the plot was a little bit convoluted, I think possibly as a result of that weird structure where the time's moving backwards and forwards a little bit. Got a little bit confusing. But I think if you stuck with it and you just kind of enjoyed the ride, it's quite a satisfying ending. And I definitely enjoyed the book, and I'm really glad that I read it. I'm kind of curious about the first book now, and I kind of wish I'd read the first book. And I'm curious as to whether they're going to make this into a film, because I definitely go to see the film. And what I really want to do is buy John Dies at the End on Region 2 DVD, and then watch John Dies at the End, because I really recommend that as a film. I also recommend This Book is Full of Spiders, but I would say that there were some things in it that I just thought the plot was a little bit too dense, it gets a little bit confusing. and there's a lot of action in it, and I could really have done with it being a bit pared down, a bit more simplified, and perhaps even having a map, because at one point there, a lot of the action scene takes place in one building, but one quite complicated building, and in like the basements and like connecting tunnels and things. And I got really confused as to where they all were. I don't know if that's just me, but I could have done with a map. But yeah, it's a good book. It's not brilliant, but it's definitely good, and I do recommend it. So thanks for watching. If you like the video, then like it, please. Subscribe, leave a comment. I've got blogs, obviously. I've got Twitter, like everybody else. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.